Hey there, spooky friends, and welcome to the 4-year anniversary episode of the Scarish podcast.
Woo!
We've been doing this for 40 years.
4 years is a long time.
It's definitely a long time. We've covered hundreds of topics.
Just because we've done it for 4 years doesn't mean you shouldn't introduce us. This might be someone's first episode.
Oh yeah, I'm Robin Grace. This is Adam Diaz.
Hello.
We're your lovely hosts, and we talk about, true crime, haunted stuff, cryptids.
Feel like we focus in paranormal, but we do get into true crime as well.
True crime, one of my favorite things. Not to do it or to witness it, but to research.
It is fascinating. I love supernatural stuff. I love cryptids. I love monsters.
Sam
I love
Dean,
haunted houses.
some of my favorite people.
I don't love possession stories, but I do find them fascinating in the same way that true crime is fascinating. So it's been 4 years. Pretty consistently.
You're gonna break out into that song. It's been
no. I think it's kind of funny too. This is going to be kind of a loose episode. We're going to go through a lot of Q&A. We told everyone on Discord. We told everyone on Facebook today, and we let Patreon know. Toss us questions that you would like us to answer for the 4-year anniversary. So we do have some questions we're going to go over. Before we jump into anything, though, we try and do a recap of sort of what's been happening for us over the last week since you last heard from us. Pretty slow week, you got to say. No major life changes or anything hang on, wait. Okay, I'm being told there was some major life changes. So first and foremost, this was our first weekend not doing a convention in 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
When I say convention, for those of you listening, don't think we're going to podcasting conventions.
No, I am an artiste. I try to be, at least, and I do anime stuff. So we go to anime conventions all the time.
So we're there a lot. It's another side hustle that we have, and it's very, very fun. But this is the first week we had at home, which was kind of nice. We chilled out on Saturday. I was a little bit under the weather. I got my booster shot on Friday evening. So we went to bed a little bit late. I woke up Saturday and I was like, I feel a little bit groggy, but otherwise I'm fine. So it was nice to rest. Sunday I got to hang out at home, watch football, got to watch the Bears lose.
Watch Night House.
We watched The Night House with Rebecca Hall.
We didn't actually watch it with Rebecca Hall. We watched it with my aunt and my cousin.
She wasn't here. She Skyped in, so I guess it doesn't count. Not really. Yeah, we watched it with Spooky Aunt and Spooky Cuz. It was really interesting is what I'll say. They really hyped it up in the trailer as this psychological thriller. It seemed like it was going, bless you, it seemed like it was going to deal with time loops and other things like that.
The trailer was scarier than the movie.
I agree. Yeah, I think the trailer portrayed a movie that I was excited to see, and the movie kind of unfolded half of what I thought I would get. I wouldn't say it was bad.
There were a lot of cool effects.
Yeah, and there was definitely creepy moments to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a good example, if you like horror movies, how there's the stereotypical build where it goes from little small things to slightly bigger things to bigger things, and the exponential build up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if it were a flat line and then a line straight up. It's really small stuff
and
that's creepy, and then boom, through the roof, and you're like, okay, and then the movie's over. Yeah. And I was like, all right, well, I have lots of questions.
Yeah, I have lots of questions.
About what would happen after the fact.
So whoever wrote that movie, hit us up so we can ask you those questions. But yeah, I think the next time we're going to watch Candyman. Still haven't seen it yet.
Yep. I'm excited to watch the new Candyman.
Yeah.
So that was our Sunday. Right? That was Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not crazy.
Had pizza, Yeah.
We had a hot pot Saturday night with a friend of ours, which was really nice when I wasn't feeling well. And it was the most expensive meal I've probably ever been served at someone's house.
And it was delicious. Shout out to Marsha. She's amazing.
She listens now.
She does.
We have talked shit about Marsha on our show.
No, we don't talk shit.
We have joked around about stories that we've had with Marsha on our show before.
Just because we've known her for so long.
And now that she's listening, she's texting hey, episode 22, fuck you. And I'm I don't even remember what I said 4 years ago, man. Come on, get off my back. So when she catches up to this eventually, which she will, shout out to you, Marsha. So that was our weekend. Something that did happen last week is that because Robin is going to be graduating, huge shout out to Robin.
You guys have been with me on this school journey. It's been a long one.
It's been a long one. You have a very complicated degree in civil engineering.
It's as complex as you want to make it. It's not too complex.
It's a bachelor's of science. So for all those out there with a bachelor's of arts who avoided bachelor's of science because it was too sciencey, I salute you, and the rest of us do as well. So congratulations. That's amazing. You've been doing some job interviews, so you had several, including one that you're very excited about.
And one that I did not do well on.
One that you did not do well on. But we had a very interesting morning. Today started out very interesting, so
Yes.
I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, I have a job opportunity that's going to make me move. So, I'm leaving Adam. We're going to quit the show. It's going to be over. Is it? No more Scarish.
I thought you'd make this sound more serious when we talked about joking around about that.
No, I just, I have an internship opportunity that I'm going to take, and it's going to, change the podcast up a little bit, but not too much because we're still going to be doing it. It's not like we're going to be quitting, but hopefully it's not too much of a change.
I will say most of the change is going to be on the back end. On our end, hopefully you guys don't really notice anything being too different, but after probably like some point next year, probably early next year in January, we will be recording in separate spaces. The Wednesday story time is likely to stay the same. It'll look visually similar. However, we'll be in 2 different states. So that will be interesting to see how that goes. I've already worked through the technical aspects of this, but most importantly, I've never seen Robin this excited for a job interview. And so when she got that phone call this morning, she was really like kind of groggy. And so she answered the thing. It was a telemarketer.
I thought it was a telemarketer.
Hello. And then I heard her phone voice pop up like, oh, hello. And I was like, oh shit, this might be them. And by the time she got off the phone, it was very clear that they had offered her the job. It is an internship, but it's a paid internship that pays very well. So don't worry, like, oh my God, like she's sacrificing like her time for free. Cause I know some internships are like that. That is not the case. It's a great, wonderful opportunity that I'm super thrilled. And I know you're super, super thrilled for.
Yeah.
And, it's just going to be, it's like everything lined up. And we've talked about this on the show before, but sometimes when you're like going through stuff and you're struggling or things are taking too long, I know Robin has felt like that before. She's mentioned it on the show. She even just said it a while ago, like, oh, it took forever. Like sometimes things do happen for a reason. I think it's a cliche, but you don't really realize like the reason things might be taking a long roundabout journey is because maybe your, dream employer or dream job or one of many, for folks out there might just align with all the things that you had to go through to get there. And like in that exact moment, you might have an opening or an opportunity. And I really think that that's what happened here. And when she had the interview, it was just like, it's going to happen. I'm not going to say it out loud. I don't want to jinx it. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
Appreciate it.
So on our end, that's what's going on with our lives. The beginning of 2022 is going to be complicated, but we're ready for it. And then maybe the back half of 2022 will be filled with similar super exciting news and changes to the show. But hopefully
maybe we'll revert back to what we're doing.
We have no idea how it's going to work out, but we are very excited to be on this journey. And hopefully you guys really don't notice change, except maybe, things get even better, which is what we're always going for. So very, very exciting stuff for us. So that said, it is the 4-year anniversary. So I think for the rest of the episode, we're going to jump into just some questions that you folks have asked, and we're more than happy to answer. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. So I'm going to start out with the questions that we got over there on Discord. I'll read it. Robin, you give your answer first, ladies first, and then I will go afterwards. Sound good?
Cool.
All right, so this first one is from Levi over there on Discord, and they stated, if you guys ever decided to go ghoul hunting, what locations would be at the top of your list for hauntedness?
None, because I'd never want to go.
All right. My answer, I guess, is a little different because I would actually want to go and investigate some of these places. We do have 150 patron goal for the Stanley Hotel, which would be super fun to go to. I'd like to see where this nightmare happened to Stephen King that inspired The Shining. I sincerely don't think it's that haunted, so I think it would just wind up being a really nice hotel stay.
Yeah.
Aside from that, there's not a whole lot of places that I'd literally want to go ghoul hunting because I feel like a lot of it is disrespectful in some ways.
Right.
That said, there's certain places that encourage
I wouldn't want to go in a cemetery.
Wouldn't want to go into a cemetery.
I don't know. There's a lot of different houses, right, that we've talked about on this show. I mean, I wouldn't want to do one of those bridges. I think those are way too scary for me. Just because you have to go at night, right? You have to go at night. You have to do those different ritual type things.
I wouldn't do anything with a ritual. That's for sure. I might want to go to some more of the penitentiaries. Didn't we go to Eastern State Penitentiary?
I would actually want to go back there because we only did one section of it before it rained us out. So I would definitely want to do that again.
I find it very fascinating when you go to a place that's like a historical landmark that has like documented cases of like human misery and tragedy.
Yes.
Because you
because
can
it kind
walk
of
through.
stacks on top of each other.
It's like palpable when you walk through them. You know, I don't want to take a ghost reader, or excuse me, I don't want to take one of those ghost boxes and ask stupid questions and then try and interpret static. Like, I want to just go through and see if like I feel odd or not. And I would also like to go to places where I don't know the story. Like when we went camping this year and someone told us like, it's a haunted campsite. It's like, don't tell me how it's haunted. I just want to go and see what I experienced and then see if like what I experienced matches up with the legend, which it did not. So that's something that I like to do because it's kind of like a blind experiment. But yeah, I think that would be it for me. So nothing too specific.
Yeah. I would definitely just want to go to scary, but not so scary places like Eastern State Penitentiary. Where because there are so many people, it's not that scary, but you can definitely see all the horrible stuff that did occur there, you know?
I feel like the more we go in a bigger group, the more Robin's willing to go.
Yeah.
So if we get a big enough group, she'd probably be willing to go to pretty scary places. All right, let's move on to the next question. This one's from Lisbetry, and it is, what were some of the most memorable moments of the podcast this year? What has really stuck with you? Memorable moments.
I think the bar challenge, the cocktail challenge,
oh my God,
that was really fun. And that was one of the stream goals for one of the months. I forget which month, but I thought that was really freaking fun. The meetup, the SpookyCon meetup.
SpookyCon 2021.
Yes, because we got to meet so many of our spooky friends.
Including Lisbetry.
And it was incredibly fun to hang out with everyone and get to know everyone. And it was so nice to meet people that actually have more than just an interest in spooky things in common.
Right.
Like, I think I talked to Lisbetry and her husband about anime a bunch. And it was really cool to just meet everyone. Everyone's neat and nerdy in their own way. And I know you got to talk D&D to some people, right?
I talk D&D to everyone. It's just whether or not they know what I'm talking about.
So that was I think that's one of the things that really stuck with me, and kind of one of those things that makes me want to keep making the podcast, because we've met so many cool people, and to know that you folks think we're fun to be around and listen to is great.
Yeah, I agree. I honestly forgot about the drinking challenge, and I didn't even drink. I really enjoyed the fact that we were producing more content, and we were doing stuff like, if we hit a goal during the live show, we're going to do like a bonus show, like the pumpkin carving contest.
We're still learning how to handle the tech, you know. We messed up last couple streams.
And honestly, I think that I do a lot of it, and I don't really try and like pawn too much off. I know we have Spooky Assistant, which is Spooky Sis, and she'll come over and help. And that's been really interesting to do. I don't seem to have as much fun as I wish I would, because I'm always looking at it from like a producer standpoint. But I think I agree with you. SpookyCon 2021 out in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania was definitely the highlight this year for me. Getting to meet people, put, faces to names is something we've never gotten to do before. The fact that people helped us with airfare so we could actually go out there. The fact that, Captain Fake Eye was like, hey, I'll help organize this. You can also stay at my house. Was just incredibly
in her D&D
generous.
Den, it was great.
Yeah, and it was just
so cool.
It was very surreal. The first night we were laying there and we were going to sleep, and I kind of rolled over and I was like looking at Rob, and I was just like, isn't it crazy to think that people we've never met before paid for this so that they could meet us, and we're just as excited to meet them? Like, in what universe are we lucky enough where this happened? And it's this one somehow. And it was just super fun. Everything we did was super fun. I threw out my back, the worst I've ever thrown out my back in my entire life, 5 days before that. So I was hobbling around that town like a 90-year-old man and having a blast doing it. And also, Captain Fake Eye is a medical doctor, so she was like, take 2 of these and 4 of these, and you're going to feel better. And sure enough, I did. But yeah, it was just amazing. I think my favorite part of SpookyCon was the Philly cheesesteak showdown, where we picked which one we thought was the best. That wasn't because of the cheesesteaks, it was because we were all sitting around in Captain Fake Eye's living room and
chilling,
just enjoying each other's presence, and the pictures were so much fun to take, and we're hanging out there with Captain Fake Eye's cat observing all of us and judging us. The cat's name is Watson, and it was just this really fun dare I say, beautiful moment that I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever replicate this in my entire life, and I don't know what we did to deserve it, but it was just very humbling, and it was very nice to be a part of. So that's definitely stuck with me. Speaking of Captain Fake Eye, she has the next question, and the question is...
It kind of leads into the next one as well.
Theirs are pretty well stacked on top of each other, actually. Captain Fake Eye says, what was your best episode in your opinion, and why? When I read this initially, I thought, best episode as a whole. And then I thought maybe we each individually have a best episode where like we had a best topic. So I'm really trying to think of the best episode of combined topics that we've ever done.
That's hard because best episode. I don't think, what was the one I did recently that we were like, man, this one's really good?
I don't know. Here's the thing that I'm going to have trouble with this question. I can barely remember what I had to eat today. It is very difficult to remember what episodes we have done. Every time I look up a topic, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to cover this week. I then go to the episode list and I hit Control F to see if we've covered it before, just in case. So I'm trying to think of episodes that have stood out in the past where I thought like, that was a really good episode. And most of the time, the reason I feel like that is because I feel like we have really good chemistry, or we're like listening to each other or asking questions, or we're just laughing a lot. And so it's kind of hard to nail down which topics those were. Yeah. So it's really hard to point out like, oh man, episode 97, you made me laugh so hard I almost peed.
I think the best in recent memory I enjoyed doing was the Texas Killing Fields one. Just because I had no idea that those occurred and that there's an area out there in Texas where there were a whole bunch of bodies dumped, and it was cool to look into. And I actually thought that your topic and my topic that episode were both very good, so I think in recent memory that was the best that we've done. And then I have an answer for the next one. So you be honest.
I will say I think episode 21 is the one I usually go back to. And in this moment, I usually recommend episode 21 if people are like, what's the show like? I remember that one because it's the one that I covered. That's the true story of Frenchie.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was just blown away because as I did more research...
The character from The Nun.
Yeah, the more I realized, one, the character from The Nun is absolutely nothing like what happened in real life. And two... most of the internet sites, websites, whatever you kids call them nowadays, that you can find follow the narrative from the book written by Ed and Lorraine Warren. And that book was written and published, I think, in 91 or 92. And the actual end of that story came in like 94 or 95, which you only find if you go and check like police headlines, police blotter and like local newspaper headlines and death certificates because of the horrific thing that happened afterwards. And I was really enjoying my research. I don't remember what your topic is, and I feel like a dick because of it. But then again, you didn't remember mine for the the Texas Killing Fields one, so
what was it?
No, not too bad. I don't know.
Oh my fuck!
What?
How do we not know? How do we not?
Dude, it's really hard to remember topics sometimes because your brain is always processing on the next thing, and it's not really thinking about what you just did.
Yeah.
But I remember after episode 21 came out, I wish someone who critiques podcasts like for a living, like does top 5, top 10 lists, would listen to this episode. That was the first time I felt like the content we're putting out isn't just funny and it isn't just good. Like, I'm really proud of it. And I think that happened for me on episode 21. So,
all right, nice.
Chunkster over there on Discord asks, my question is, what was the most intense research episode you guys had to do and the most you have ever invested into?
I think yours has to be Charles Manson.
Yeah.
100%. Your Charles Manson series of episodes was definitely the most intense research, the most time you put into it, considering it was 3 episodes. I think the one that I looked into most was the Villisca axe murder house, because there were so many ideas of who it could have been.
It's unsolved still, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, that one was fucking crazy.
Yeah, so I that's a topic that I really like, and I absolutely find interesting. And I looked into it more than other episodes, other topics, because it's like it could have been this, and then it's linked into these other axe murders. So it was really interesting for me.
Yeah, for me, I have 3 that I always think of as far as most work and then most invested into.
And Frenchie is one of them?
No, actually.
Really?
So my first one is definitely the Charles Manson ones, because it was a 3-part. I didn't want to do a Charles Manson topic, because I typically let Robin handle the true crime ones. I didn't want to do a Charles Manson topic. and not try and cover it from each angle. And I really wanted to do it chronologically, so I needed to make sure I was going through. And there's just so much that happened with Charles Manson before the stories that we typically hear about. And then the stories that you hear about are so fucking crazy. There's so much to talk about. And then like the postscript afterwards of like everything that the family did, I knew I needed to include. I watched like 3 documentaries. I went and skimmed like 10 books. I had someone like, they put a review and they gave us like a 3-star, like, oh, try reading this book instead. And it's like, cause they read one book and it said something that I didn't say or contradicted one of the things that I said. And I'm pretty sure it was that he was like a sleeper CIA agent.
Oh yeah, I remember
and
that.
I was just like, kiss my fucking nuts, dude. Like, I'm sorry I didn't talk about the one conspiracy theory that you've 100% bought into.
And a lot of the time when we miss something or we don't talk about something, it's not that we didn't read it.
We omitted it on purpose.
But it's because we don't have time. We don't have time to cover every single little thing about these topics, because how are you going to fit that into a less than 30-minute segment?
Yeah, I'm usually trying to find stuff I can validate through fact, which is why my research takes me in different directions. As far as the other ones that I've been most invested into, I will say I can't think of my third one, but I know my second one off the top of my head is The Haunting of Carolina Street. Because that one was my father's story. That's the story of the haunted house my father grew up in. And I will say, I talked to my father on 3 different occasions leading up to this episode to kind of go into it. And it is so traumatic for him to talk about that stuff. And my dad has had a lot happen to him in his life. Like, he's had a fucked up life. But talking to him about some of it, he told me stories he's never told me before. He told me stories he's never told my mother before about stuff that happened in that house.
Wow.
And just seeing my dad talk about it, like, Robin's seen my dad in all of his moods, you know, and it's usually like happy, like mellow, like perturbed, and angry. You know, those are the moods my dad has. I saw my dad, each time I talked to him about it, go from uneasy to upset. And not upset in the ways I usually saw him, where he was like about to pop, you know, like he's super pissed off. It was like he was reliving trauma by telling it to me. And so I included a lot of it. I didn't include all of it, though, because I was like, this is something I shouldn't talk about. And it was very deeply personal. And I thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all the way, except for the stuff that talks about people that I can't confirm that with and I can't get permission with.
Yeah.
So that one I was definitely very deeply invested into. I worked on that topic. Not as much as I researched, quote unquote, the Charles Manson episode, but I did more like, it was like, you know, I was interviewing my own
You're
father.
emotionally invested.
Yeah, and I was trying to get as much information as I could so I could portray the story correctly. So I was definitely super invested into that one. And then the other one, the third one, I can't think of, so it clearly wasn't that important.
All right. Speaking of things you can't talk about, MadScan812 asks, what is a topic you want to do the most that you haven't quite gotten to? For me, there are topics out there. There are a lot of true crime topics out there that I haven't gotten to because I am teetering on whether or not I should do them because they're controversial or they're unsolved and all of the suspects don't make any sense and it doesn't seem worthy to cover, you know? So it's something that I fight with myself a lot, trying to figure out, like, do I want to do this true crime topic today? Because there's a lot of big name ones we still haven't covered.
Oh yeah, there's a ton.
There's one, there's one I have covered that got demonetized on YouTube because there was too much people eating.
Too much description.
Yeah. But I mean, I think there are quite a few big ones that I still have yet to cover.
Yeah. I think for me, the one that I've always thought about, there's 2 actually. The one I haven't covered yet, to answer the question directly, is Men in Black. And it's because it's very hard to research it. One, because there's not a lot of stuff that doesn't sound crazy out there that's unsubstantiated about the quote-unquote Men in Black, like the secret government agency.
Because you want to get Dan Aykroyd on the show so you can talk to him about it.
Why would I get Dan Aykroyd? Why wouldn't I get Will Smith or Tommy Lee Jones? Dan Aykroyd's a Ghostbuster. Yeah,
but he likes all that mystery alien stuff.
I mean, I could get Dan Aykroyd for fucking every episode if I could.
Dude, oh my gosh.
Permanent third chair, always there.
Dan Aykroyd, hit us up.
Let us know. I would just pick your brain about everything. But yeah, it's Men in Black. I would love to cover Men in Black. Number 2, the second reason why I haven't done it yet is because it's very difficult to research, because when you type in anything like Men in Black, 4 fucking movies pop up, and it's just nothing but interviews with the stars of those movies, which makes me think they must be real. They made this really funny franchise so that you couldn't find fucking anything about them on the internet.
Doesn't that make sense, though?
It does. It would make sense. But the other one that I was like desperate to finally get to, I did, which was the Illuminati. And the funny thing about doing the Illuminati is that sometimes this happens, is that you do a bunch of research and some of it crosses the other stuff out. And so, like,
where you're like, it's not that scary.
You wind up deleting stuff off your script, and you're like, oh, I thought this was going to be a 10, 12-page script. It winds up being 7, 8 pages, which is still very long, because you're starting to realize, like, a lot of the mystery that you think exists around something, or a lot of the controversy, or a lot of the theories are bullshit, or they're made up, or they've been perpetuated by false information. And then when you start to unveil the actual mystery, it becomes something different. And that's definitely what happened with me with the Illuminati, where it's like, all right, as I went through this, I started to realize like the actual history of the Illuminati and the different groups that have named themselves that, and the symbolism that's represented with them is typically not actually their symbolism. That's just something that we kind of tossed out there and added in. And then there's these other secret societies that no one talks about that are still in existence, that targeted the Illuminati, and they made them the not so secret society. And I was just like, holy shit, like this stuff is crazy. And it was just as interesting as I thought it would be, but it wasn't completely focused on the Illuminati. So that does happen a lot when you cover topics that you've kind of been building yourselves up to. But all right, moving on. Last question we had from Discord was from I'm What's for Dinner, and it says, approximately how many fish heads do you feed to Spooky Mom per week?
She actually feeds us the fish heads. I don't know. She cooks a lot because we're always busy. We cook every once in a while, but mostly she's the one cooking.
I think when we cook from home, it's 50-50 as to who cooks, but me and you get to split half of that. So I cook 25% of the time. Robin cooks the other 25% of the time. And then if we're having dinner that's been cooked, my mom cooks 50% of the time. But let's just say if we're going with the joke is that, we keep Spooky Mom locked up in the attic and we feed her a bucket of fish heads once a week. So we'll say 6, 7 if they're small.
How many can you fit in the bucket? It depends on the bucket.
And the fish.
Is it like a 5-gallon bucket? Is it like...
No, that's way too big of a bucket.
Is it like a sandcastle pail?
Yes.
That's a tiny bucket. That's not enough.
No, I mean,
I couldn't...
One fish a day.
No,
one fish a day will do enough. You. And the 7th day you're
Is it like 3 times a day, though?
No. Bucket of fish heads once a week. That's the joke from Simpsons.
Oh,
Deal with it.
I've never seen it.
All right, we're going to move over to some Patreon questions. We're going to start out with I'm What's for Dinner, who hit us up in 2 different spots, asked us 2 different questions. I'm What's for Dinner asks over there on Patreon. And this is a good question, too. Have you ever started to cover a topic and had to stop the research because it unnerved you too much?
No. Sometimes we stop researching because there's just nothing to research. But I don't think there's ever been a topic that I've been too scared to continue covering. There's a reason why I've never covered the Illuminati. That I didn't even ever start because I was just like, I don't want to get into it.
I didn't want that search history.
I don't want,
I think I did a lot of research in incognito mode, even though I know that the fucking secret societies can for sure track
Let me research how to obtain plutonium. No, wait, is that even a real thing?
Plutonium, yes, is a real thing.
No, but it's just like, there are things that I don't want to cover, like conspiracy theories, about the Denver airport, that kind of stuff. I don't want to cover it. And it's not that I'm unnerved, it's because there's too much controversy involved in it.
Right.
That I don't want to even touch it.
Of the conspiracy theories that I refuse to touch, which is almost all of them, the Denver International Airport is the topic that I have saved in case we ever get a live show, because I will cover it.
Really?
Because I think it's fascinating, because there's so much tangible evidence where you're like, what the fuck is this shit?
The art in it,
it's
the shape,
weird. That
the
shit
design,
is fucking weird.
The maze-like, just
there's a lot to that topic where I'm like, a lot of conspiracy theories are just made up bullshit and people are just peddling stuff to get attention or to get hits or to get money. When it comes to that one in particular, it's like, yeah, this one got started because people were taking pictures of it with their cell phones and posting it on the internet. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that's up there. As far as me goes, I have never had a topic that's unnerved me too much. In fact, the few topics that I've researched that actually started to make me feel unnerved, that feeling is always accompanied by, this is going to be a great fucking episode. And I keep digging more and more, regardless of how much it creeps me out. I think a good example of that is the true story behind The Exorcist, because that shit was fucked up. I think about that episode a lot. I think about that research a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Where I'm just like, man, like, that's the most creeped out I've ever felt. We have done 208 episodes. That means we've each done at least 208 topics, right?
Yeah.
Of all the topics I've ever done, that if someone were to come to me and say like, hey, we want to do a special about this, all the other ones I'd probably be like, abso-fucking-lutely, sign me up. I'd love to be a part of it. For this one, I'd be like, you need to tell me exactly what you're going to do. Otherwise, I'm not going to be a part of it.
Wow.
Like, you better make sure you're covering this in the way you should. Because if you go to a place you don't want to go, this is the one topic. When I did it, I was like, this one feels real. This one, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. Like, that one scared the shit out of me. And I remember doing that episode being like, this is great content. I had nightmares for days after that. I couldn't leave the fucking hallway light off because it was too dark.
And that's the thing. There's some episodes or topics we've done where I can't leave the door open to the dark hallway. I can't because it's scary. There was someone was staying over with us at the time. I think it might have been my sister or something. And so the guest room door was open. And so it's definitely way too dark out there. And it just leads straight into darkness when you're sitting where I'm sitting and looking back. And so I was like, I'm going to just walk over to the guest room, close the door, because that way I'll at least see the white door, you know? But yeah, there's stuff that definitely creeps us out.
I have this mental image when I'm doing stuff that's actually creeping me out of the Terminator and Terminator 2 at the end of the movie when they're in like that industrial factory.
Yeah.
Where like they know the T-1000's in there waiting to kill them. And he's the machine. He's the protector. He doesn't feel fear because of that. So like he has like this gun out in front of him and he's like walking forward into like certain doom.
Yeah.
Where as a viewer, it's like this massive amount of tension and you realize like he can't feel that. And then it cuts like his vision and he's just analyzing everything.
Yeah.
And when I get really creeped out, I'm like, just fucking Terminator, dude, right now. Just keep walking forward, look at it from an analytical perspective, try and not be too creeped out.
I'm already afraid of the dark. A lot of people already know that. I mean, when we went to go stay with Rhett and, I almost said Rhett and Link because they're from Good Mythical Morning. No, but with Rhett and Viv, they had a nightlight for me in the room.
That was nice
because I am afraid of the dark, and it's just like so cool to know that you guys, you know, are out there to protect us too. But there are a lot of things that scare us for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, moving on to Justin. Justin Strawn over there, just to distinguish between all the Justins, not to give anyone's secret identity away. Justin says, I have a 2-part question. The first part is, what was y'all's favorite episode to record and why? And what was y'all's favorite live stream and why? So let's break it down first. Topic episode. What was your favorite to record? And it can be topic or story time or pasta time.
I think my favorite episode to record was the Japanese Legends one, because we had so many both fun and interesting legends, like the little butt demon in the bathroom.
God, that one's so
nice.
Funny.
And I think that one was just fun. It was really fun to do because there was scary parts like Aokigahara Forest, but the random bathroom demons with the toilet paper, you know, the different colored toilet paper or whatever. Right? Because it's like if you choose red or if you choose blue.
Red or blue, it's just a different way you're going to die.
Yeah. So there's stuff like that I thought was really fun about it. So it was a mix. It was a mix of fun and absolutely depressing and terrifying. Some of my favorite stuff.
Most of my like favorite episodes to record have been the guest episodes because it's really fun to sit down with our friends and some of our family. Sitting down with my cousin was really special to get stories
that
from
one
her.
was very fun.
We like got to the end of that episode and then she was like, I just remembered another part to that story, and she started telling us. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Hold on, we gotta
press record. And I'm like, keep going. And then she circled back and I edited it back into the episode. The one that stands out to me the most, we've had 3 Ralph ones, we've had Brett, we've had JJ Obsession a few times. The tarot card reading one was fantastic. I really loved recording that. The one that stands out to me, despite the fact that they're all really special, is the first special guest we had, which was Mondo, because the inspiration for this show came from a night where the computers went down and we all stood around and told ghost stories. And hearing Mondo talk, I was like, I need to get a microphone in front of you.
And what's interesting is there are so many people, Mondo, if you even listen to this show anymore, probably not, but we meet a lot of people. We meet a lot of people that are like, when is Mondo going to be back on? When is he going to tell more stories?
And he had a story that he didn't wind up telling. I think it was because of time, or maybe he wanted to get more details to it, that he told me at work. And it's still one of the scariest stories I've ever heard.
Is it the one about the knife?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, and the way Mondo tells it, Mondo has this thing about him.
He's so good at telling stories.
Where you believe him. You can tell he's telling you the truth about things, which is why I was like, that is haunting. That is terrifying. So we'll get him back on here eventually, and then we'll get that story out of him if he feels comfortable telling it. And then that was my topic one. And then as far as live streams go, oh man, the live streams are so much fun to do. And
I'm telling you, cocktail stream.
The cocktail stream was super fun.
It was just so fun. And, I won.
We tied. Thank you. We absolutely tied.
Favorite comments for live streams, though. Favorite comments or jokes?
This is extra points. It says extra points, and I didn't even get to answer, and you're already moving on.
Oh, sorry.
For my favorite live stream, she just answered for me like, it's the cocktail stream. Suck it. I don't know, probably the cocktail stream.
God damn it, you stupid bitch.
I really enjoy a lot of our live streams, and I don't want to toss any of them under the bus because they're very special. Because this is the funniest thing about the live streams. Most of the time, people don't pay any attention to the story we're reading.
Right.
Because they're all carrying on conversation in chat, and they're asking us certain questions eventually. And then sometimes a story will be so good, everyone shuts the fuck up. And I'm worried that everyone left or the stream crashed because everyone's listening to the story. And that's always really fun when that happens too. And it has really nothing to do with like the amazing quality of the story, because all the stories are very good. Just sometimes something clicks with, the people that are watching in that moment. And it's really special, and those are really fun. But as far as live streams go, sure, I'll give it to the bartending one, because that one was just like...
It was fun. It was just a good time.
It was a fun time for Robin. Setting that one up was the worst time I've ever had. Everything broke. The internet stopped working for an hour. In the last seconds, we had a bar cart, and I was wheeling it over to the kitchen.
And
the front two wheels broke off of it, and we had to dive and catch it, and Robin's holding it from the front, because we have 40 bottles of booze on it, and we're taking everything off, and we're like, well, I guess just stack it on the counters, because there's no place to put it. It'll look good as the backdrop. It was just this huge shit show. And then afterwards, my mom was wasted. And I was just like, okay, there's more stuff to deal with after the show now. So it was fun from a perspective. Also, Robin got pretty drunk during that one too.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. All right, these extra points. Favorite comment and or joke during a live stream.
I think my favorite saying that's come from the live streams is...
chug some corn.
No, well, that too. That's an old school one. A lot of the newer viewers have probably never heard that.
Chug some corn.
Yeah, or know what that's from. Shout out to Connor for being one of our first amazing supporters that made the show what it is today. But one of my favorite comments is or sayings that have come from it is by Ashley. Hashtag by Ashley.
Yeah, hashtag by Ashley was really fucking funny.
Or douche canoe. That's also one of my favorites.
Douche canoe is pretty good. Yeah, I like chug some corn because it was this just bizarre conversation about Connor's from Australia. A lot of our listeners are from United States, and we were talking about some specific differences. In particular, food came up. We were talking about corn, and Connor sent us this really weird amount.
How much corn cost by weight or something.
And it was buy 20 pounds of corn, sent us that much money, and we're reading a story, and afterwards we're like, thank you for the money. What the hell just happened? And everyone's talking about different ways you could prepare that much corn. Someone's turn it into a smoothie or something and chug some corn.
You can make corn chowder.
And then everyone just started using chug some corn. And then out of nowhere, every time someone joined the Discord, someone from the live stream would eventually pop into the Discord to welcome them and be like, welcome to the corn.
Yeah.
And it was just this running joke for a while that was just really weird. But all right, it ends with P.S. Y'all the best, and so is all the Spooky fam. And shout out to Spooky Mom and Liz.
Nice.
Thank you so
much.
Very
sweet.
All right, moving on to A Tie. We know who this is. This states, hello, Adam, Robin, and Spooky Mom. I'm wondering if you might change the day of the live stream once Robin graduates. I'd also like to say that I'm so proud of you, Robin.
Thank you.
And proud of both of you for creating such a wonderful and caring community for us all.
I am actually so impressed, and I'm so in love with our community because we don't tolerate no toxic shit.
Yeah.
And anytime someone starts trolling or starts, tossing out some shit they really shouldn't, we're like, no, banhammer. And we're so glad for Glitch for being
Glitch
such a great moderator.
Always on top of it.
And it's just, I don't even know how it happened. I don't know how we have one of the best. I feel like we have one of the best communities because everyone is so supportive of each other, and everyone talks to each other when we have problems or when we're just having a bad day or when someone is celebrating something good. You guys are out there just supporting each other and cheering each other on. And I'm really proud that this is our community.
Yeah. I don't think we had much to do with it. I think it's just the fact that the people who decided to follow us were very active in creating a community with us. That is just very supportive. And it was very important to both of us to be like, we're not tolerating any toxic bullshit. And we barely ever had to deal with any of it. And when we have had to confront it, we've had the help of Glitch and other moderators like Christina and Jeremiah over there on the Spooky Friends group. And Glitch is also a moderator over there. Yeah. And it's just been really wonderful to see that people are really more interested in just joining the community for the support and to support each other. It's inspiring. It really is to see people that want to come out to have each other's backs.
Yeah.
And I will say also to A-Ty, like, thank you so much for being so incredibly supportive of this thing that we do.
Yeah.
It is more than I think any other family member except maybe Spooky Mom.
Yeah.
And even then it's just like you're just always there.
Yeah.
And it means so much to us.
Even my sister is just like, she's like, oh, stream tonight? All right. And then she never hops on because she's a dumb.
She's very busy is what's happening. She's trying to get a master's degree. So Spooky Sis has a pass. All right. Moving over to the last question we had on Patreon from Carl. It says, hey, A-R and S-M. I wondered if you ever get too scared.
I'm trying to think of like words for those letters. Like,
Aaron, Randolph, and Spooky Mom.
No, SM for me is always store manager. That's how it's like. A is assistant. R is, I don't know, regional. S is store manager.
Gotcha. Okay. God damn it. I wondered if you ever get too scared from thinking about scary stuff. I am a nut for horror, mystery, and true crime, and sometimes I just need to stay away for a few weeks. Usually when I start having nightmares about things, I listen to while falling asleep, or when I get too scared to be alone in a house. Does this happen to you, and how do you resolve that while running a great Scarish podcast? Are you trapped in a prison of your own making?
No, because we don't listen to that stuff on the side, I don't think. You know, like when we're not doing research or you know, recording, doing live streams and stuff like that, I do watch stuff like Unsolved Mysteries.
You constantly watch horror movies.
And horror, yes, I'm always watching horror movies, but I don't research a lot of true crime for fun. I'll watch a bunch of documentaries every now and then, but I do take a break and I'll watch...
Take a break.
Oh my gosh. And I'll watch anime, you know, or I'll read manhwa, or I'll play Genshin, or right now I'm playing buttloads of Halo. So it's just like, it just depends, right? You gotta make space for other stuff, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's what I do. I just make space for other things that aren't true crime, spooky things. Like I used to listen to Lore and My Favorite Murder every day, like on my way to work. And I had to take a break. But I do fit in, like if I'm like I'm doing too much horror, I'm doing too much of this, I'll like last night I just put on Cowboy Bebop, right?
Right.
So I don't know, maybe I change it up enough where I don't have those nightmares. But I will say I did have a nightmare that I got swallowed by a whale. So I didn't even... Just the other night, I had a nightmare that we were watching some nature documentary and a submarine was entering a whale's like throat or something. And then it turned from being a small submarine being swallowed by a whale to me being swallowed by a whale, and I was suffocating inside this whale. So I have weird nightmares. I watched no nature documentary. I watched nothing about whales. I don't know how my brain was like, you want to be swallowed by a whale? Here you go. Here's a freaking nightmare. I woke up terrified. I was suffocating. So your brain does weird things. I don't think it really matters too much if you're listening to something when you fall asleep. It could affect it, obviously. But for me, it's my brain does weird stuff.
So yeah, for me, I don't really take in too much as far as like, I love watching horror movies. I think it's really fun to do, especially when you're doing it with a group in the dark. I don't listen to any other paranormal podcasts. There weren't a lot around when I really wanted to start Scarish. By the time we started, there were a few other ones. And I was very aware of the fact that if I listened to them, I ran the risk of their content or how they present it, bleeding into my presentation and how I investigate things. So I have not listened to a single episode of any other paranormal show because of that. Not to like disparage any of them. I can't because I've never heard them. They could all have great content. Robin listened to last podcast on the left a little bit, and I would usually request that she change it if it was a topic that I had any intention in the future of covering, because I was just like, I don't even want to hear it from a successful podcast. I used to listen to My Favorite Murder. I did stop listening to that. For the most part, just because I also don't want the content to bleed over. I think they're absolutely brilliant. And I do love that show, though, and especially how they built their community. As far as being trapped in a prison of your own making, I don't really feel that way. I will say that a couple times it has bled over into my real life is talking about sleep paralysis enough where I hallucinated for the first time during sleep paralysis and saw something. It wasn't too terrifying because I was cognizant enough to be like, this is because I keep talking about the fact that I don't hallucinate during sleep paralysis. And then the other time was, I mentioned earlier this episode, was during The Exorcist. After I finished doing The Exorcist episode, I had like really horrible nightmares for 3 nights in a row. At least 3 nights in a row. They were really, really bad. And occasionally if we get into some really creepy stuff where we feel kind of creeped out from the show, once we're done with it, I feel like it kind of just stops and we move back into our normal lives. Occasionally it will like bleed over into like nightmares or something like that. But usually for me, it's not like the content of the story or the content of the topic. It's Freddy Krueger, my childhood boogeyman, showing back up in my dreams.
Okay.
But as an adult, I'm like, I'm just going to wake up. Like, I close my eyes. I've mastered that power in my dreams to wake up out of it.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I cover a lot of true crime. Never once had a murder nightmare.
That's good.
I've never had a murder nightmare. All my nightmares that I have had in the past have not necessarily been because of the podcast at all. It's usually because my brain torments itself, and I blame myself for a lot of things. But it's usually some type of demon type thing, that's terrifying me or won't go away or something like that. But I haven't had one of those in so long, and we've been doing this show for 4 years.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
The end of that said, huge amounts of love from Norway.
Nice.
Thank you so much. All right, moving
Hello
over
from across the pond.
Yes. Moving over to the last group we're going to cover, so the Facebook Spooky Friends group. I posted this today because I realized I should probably include the Facebook crowd as well. Some folks aren't on Discord or Patreon, so we didn't have a lot of people. We did get several questions, though. The first one is from Ashley over there, and it says, what's your favorite topic that you've each ever covered?
I'm going to say, like I said earlier, the Japanese legend topic, because that was just so fun to do. There was a lot that I liked about it, and I love Japan. I don't know. And they have so many cool legends there, and I found it absolutely fascinating. My
favorite, I know which one I think is the best, but the one I had the most fun covering was the Mothman. I had no idea. I knew what the Mothman was. Daddy. That he's a big moth dude and he's supposed to be a harbinger. That's kind of what I knew. I've never seen Mothman prophecies. I've never heard about any of the other stuff. So researching it was cool. But most importantly, it's a really good example of the fact, because I didn't listen to other people that talk about Mothman. I found all these other legends about the Mothman from all over the world. And then later on, people had told me I listened to the Mothman topic on a different show and they said he's only from West Virginia. And I was like, fuck no. And I was able to tell them for the next couple of years, here's the other places people have seen something like Mothman. And they're like, oh, they didn't bring that up. It's like, yeah, because they probably only looked at Wikipedia and they only read one paragraph. They're not checking any of the actual sources or reading from any of the books. You can go to archive.org to find any public library digitized text. And there's just so much stuff available that's where I go for most of my sources. And I absolutely loved doing the Mothman episode. I would love to go to the Mothman Festival.
Oh, I would love to do that.
I think it'd be super fun.
That would be super fun.
All right, cool. Moving on. This is the last person that asked us questions. However, they asked us 5 separate questions. So shout out to you, Amanda Pratt. And this one.
Thanks for the question.
Yes. First one is, what milestones would you like to see Scarish accomplish in another 4 years? Both realistically and if things went perfectly smooth / according to plan.
I don't have a plan. So there is no smooth. Everything really that we do is we just hope for the best to happen, right?
Robin shows up, says, hit record. When we're done, she's like, cool, send me my check in the mail. And she walks out the door.
No, I make all the merch. I do all the Patreon stuff.
I post everything that's audio related onto Patreon. Yeah,
he does everything audio related.
Fulfilling the Patreon rewards.
I do all the merch. Everything, all the designs, the merch. Either I do that or I'm hoping to get, what is the word? Spotlight artists, like guest artists to make merch for Patreon. So I handle all that stuff. But what I want to see accomplished is probably maybe a bigger event, not just 15 of us. Cause I think there were 15 or 16 of us. maybe like more like 100 of us hanging out. I think that would be so cool. Maybe like you know how they have Supernatural Con, right? Where it's just everyone is there just to see stuff about supernatural.
Right.
I want people to come to a convention and be like, I just want to do creepy stuff, or like do
creepy
no
stuff?
Like go to panels about where people just talk about all this weird stuff, you know, where we have an event where everyone's talking about ghosts or demons or legends from different countries, and we have special guests come out and they have their different cultures, you know, where they tell legends from them, and that would be really freaking cool.
Yeah, I think for me, if I'm looking at it realistically and if everything went perfectly according to plan, we don't really have a plan like Robin mentioned. So I'll go with realistically. What I would like to see is sustained, steady growth with a few nice spikes. Maybe a few shout outs from like additional folks. Shout out to Jessica Braun for giving us a shout out.
Yeah, for real.
That was just like a palpable thing we could see in our numbers when we got that bump, and it was really cool. It would be really awesome to see that. You know, just sustainable growth. And in 4 years, realistically, you know, if we can move to a place where the Scarish podcast is a greater source of our net income versus the amount of time we put in it feels like a job, the amount of income we get from it feels like a hobby.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not anyone's fault. I begrudge absolutely nothing. That's just the reality of podcasting. So I think as long as we can see sustained growth for that, because we are very lucky, because I know tons of podcasts that work harder than we do that don't make a fucking dime. So we are absolutely blessed in that sense.
Hashtag blessed.
If I'm thinking of, you know, perfectly smooth, according to plan, pie in the sky dreams, you know, in 4 years, obviously we would be hosting the Scarish television show where we travel all around the world.
That would be fun.
I already have like ideas for it. I would love to go and investigate different cryptids, different haunted houses, things like that, but focus on like the culture around the place. So you show respect to the place and the people where it comes from. And then sort of identify like the origins of where the myth or the haunting could have come from based off of the area surrounding it versus going in there and just trying to antagonize spirits and shit.
See, I wouldn't want to do all the EMF, spirit box, all
Absolutely
that stuff.
not,
What I would want to do is go in there and just check it out and feel it out, and then do research and tell people about what's going on here and kind of just like talk about things.
There's so many different types of ways you can go and talk to the people who grew up there, like the older folks that have been there their whole lives, you know?
Yeah.
And be like, have you heard about this? What have you heard? And that's such a more accurate representation of, you know, some schmuck who just read something on the internet that made their own, you know, webpage that sounds exactly like everything else that, you know, they've never been there. They've never experienced it. They know nothing of the culture or the history of the place. And I think that would be amazing to do. And I would love to travel and do that and show the proper respect to each topic. And when you find something that when you're doing that sort of research that gets creepy, it is so much more impactful than just walking into a place and being like, did it say my tattoos are sweet?
Yeah.
You know, and I can't stand that sort of like sensationalized bullshit. And I think there's a better market for something like that than the stuff that you see on television shows where they're just trying to make a buck and it seems like it's all bullshit. So that would be, for me, perfectly smooth according to plan. All right, moving on. The next question from Amanda is Scarish different than what you expected when you started it?
It's better than what I expected when we started it, because I didn't realize we would build such an amazing community. And we are who we are and what we are because of all of you folks. Like, we are just a fucking community of memes.
That's funny. For me, I will say this. When we started Scarish, my expectations weren't like, here's what I hope the show becomes. And I want to say this for anyone out there who's thinking about starting a podcast or has recently started a podcast, or for any creative venture for that matter, is that you shouldn't be looking at something and thinking, this is what I want to take out of it, you know? All I was concentrating on when we started it is what I wanted to do with it. I was concentrating on, I'm so excited to make content I would want to listen to.
Yeah.
That's what I was so excited for. And it was like such a wake-up call 3 or 4 episodes in to get an email from someone from Isle of Man.
Right?
Like someone's listening to us.
When Sam messaged us and was like, hey, you guys should do this, we're like, whoa. You are from a completely different country and you listened to our episode, and what? This is incredible. It was just so cool to see how far and how many places in the world we've gone, you know?
We didn't have any like idea that we would be doing storytime episodes.
Oh, that is
until
true.
people started reaching out to us. So it definitely changed from what we thought it would be. And as far as time commitments went, it doubled. And we were kind of just happy to do it. And I think when your show grows, you grow with it. If you're lucky enough to have your show grow. And, it's funny too, because we just started the Wheel of Time show about the Wheel of Time show, me, Garrett, and Faye. You know, and I think that's something that I didn't really bring up earlier because I don't want to sound too weird, but something that, you know, does stick with me is the fact that I met Captain Fake Eye through Scaryish, you know, and now, you know, we've kind of become close. She let us stay at her house when we went out there. Like, what person is so generous to let two strangers that they've only seen through the internet stay at their house? And, you know, we were thinking like, let's go to sleep in shifts in case she's crazy and she wants to murder us in her sleep.
I passed out.
We're just like, whatever, just Jesus, take the wheel. And we fell right asleep.
The best air mattress I've ever slept on.
Faye, best air mattress ever. But like, she's a co-host. She's our third chair for the Wheel of Time show about the Wheel of Time show now. And, you know, that's amazing. And we just got our first bits of like fan mail for that show, and we're several episodes in. And it's always this shock when you're concentrating on your content. Like, oh shit, people are listening. And people reaching out just to say nice things. How like rare is it for people to reach out to you and say nice things? I think that was the biggest shock that I did not really expect. Was I didn't expect anyone to say, I like your content or pat me on the back. I've had friends reach out to me that I never expected to listen to my stuff to tell me, I'm really proud of you. And it was shocking to me. Like, you're taking the time out of your day to listen to my show and then to tell me that. Like Garrett, who's my co-host on the Wheel of Time show about the Wheel of Time show, my friend Tim, who I am in touch with frequently, who I've known since we were 7. And we sat next to each other on the bus like the 3rd day of 2nd grade. And he's my best friend. And he reached out to me to tell me, like, I've been listening to your show. I'm really proud of you. It's really, really good. And that's really special. And I think you don't really come to expect those things. So when those things happen, it's just this like really wonderful moment.
Yeah. And I mean, like my aunt that listens to us, I'm like, you listen to us and you like us. And it's just like, oh my God.
You're not just singing that.
And I know like a lot of our friends have started and other family members that have listened to the show that I'm like, you guys listen. I can't believe it. You know, shout out to Peggy. And my older sister listens, and it's just so cool. You guys are absolutely amazing. Not just our family and friends, but like all of you spooky friends.
Yeah. All right. This one's really interesting. This third one comes and says, any topics you regret doing or would do over again to include or exclude some information?
Ooh, probably too many. There's a lot of topics that I would want to add to.
Yeah.
But it would be weird to do an episode where it's like the add-on episode. And where we're like, remember episode so-and-so? Here's this tidbit of information. This episode, here's this tidbit of information. So it's kind of, it's hard for me to say exactly, but news comes out for a lot of these topics, like updates on the topics, you know, after we've already covered it.
Yeah.
And I know there are topics we've covered recently where people are still doing court cases on certain crimes and certain murders, or like, the killers that were in jail have died this
Zodiac,
year.
Where it's like there's new information on the Zodiac since we've last covered it.
Yeah, there's like so many things that have updated like that. And maybe that's something you can cover in the future where it's like updates on the whatever. But I mean, there's so many. I don't know about regret doing. There's not really a topic.
Well, then let me take it from you there.
Oh,
the topic I am closest to regretting. I still would have done it.
Okay.
I will not do a second part to it. Is the Mandela Effect. I did the Mandela Effect, and I thought this will be really fun because in some cases it's really weird that an entire society could misremember something, and in other cases it's just clear that people are stupid because lots of people remember it correctly. And then when I did all the examples of it, one, I fucked up the Energizer Bunny. I said that it actually exists in the incorrect way, so people were all over me about that. And the other one was like, people legitimately are so addicted to the idea of a parallel universe overlapping with our universe and fucking up their memory instead of just saying like, I misremembered that because other people also misremember that. And I got a lot of shit for that episode.
I remember like the Sex and the City stuff because it's like
Sex and the city, not Sex in the City. And people are like, I have merch that says Sex in the City. It's like,
because it's knockoff
merch, dog.
Yeah, and so it's random stuff like that, you know, that's just.
And then the other one that I would say I don't really regret, but people ask me about it a lot now.
Black Eyed Children?
No, is the Spanish flu.
Oh, yeah.
People will ask me about the Spanish
just
flu.
last night, right?
They got asked last night about it. And
no, maybe
it was
not.
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday.
I've been asked so much about that since COVID hit because we were talking about like, you know, this is what happened in 1919. This was what happened during the Spanish flu. These are all the things that went down. You know, this is the death toll. These are the things that people were doing. And at the time, we just mentioned, like, I would hope that if this happened again, we would be able to get through it easier because of, you know, scientific advancements. And what didn't occur to me is human stupidity and how much of a fucking disease that is and how it's rampant in culture today, as much as it was or worse than it was in 1920. And like, people have reached out to me to say horrible shit about that episode, like I was some paid shill with a fucking time machine who went back to make an episode about the Spanish flu to like educate people on pandemics. And I'm like, I'm literally just telling the story of something that happened because people didn't want to hear it. And it's like, I'm sorry that I have somehow affected your worldview by talking about something that happened 100 fucking years ago that somehow offends you today because it's relevant. And it's like, there is a quote that those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's one that I get asked about a lot. And I've like sort of managed to tune out like the white noise when it comes to it. I'm like, no, I don't regret it. Like, it is weird that we brought it up, but at the same time, we were kind of bringing it up because it's like these, you know, pandemics, plagues, whatever you want to call them, seem to happen like every 100 years or so lately. And so when COVID-19 hit, we were just like, oh shit, this is weird. You know, like, oh shit, this is bad. And then everyone's just like, it's so creepy that you guys did that topic. It's like, it's really not.
No, it's just
we're just commenting on, you know, something that I wanted to cover, which is this, you know, scary thing that wiped out 2% of the world's population back in the early 1900s. So
next question, long-term goals for the podcast. Do you plan to ever stop?
Long-term.
Never stop, never stopping.
Long-term goals. These are really good questions.
I'm not going to stop until I'm too old for this shit.
As far as long-term goals go, I never want to produce content I'm not proud of. As long as we can keep producing content we're proud of, I will keep going. Plain and simple. That's the way I look at it. I've never thought like, I think this would be a good time to quit. Or I think this is when we can like start to wind down. What I have thought is, God, I have so much more fucking free time, which I think of that all the time. And I'm just like, but what else would I do?
Play video games.
I wouldn't even want to do that. I'd probably start a different podcast. And if I was just going to start a different podcast, I'm not going to exercise at 4 a.m. on Monday nights.
Why not?
So, because it's stupid, Robin. I'm sorry.
Different
I'd rather
exercise.
do it during the day. Wow. But yeah, for me, I don't really have a plan to stop. If at some point the show does come to a conclusion, you know, that is what it is. Hopefully it's like, you know, this is going to be the last episode of the Scarish podcast. Go ahead and check us out on, you know, the NBC network starting Mondays at 7 p.m. I don't know. That would be amazing. I don't think that's feasibly in the cards, but you never know what could happen. So when it comes to long-term goals, for me, it's like to try and continue sustainable growth the right way and to keep producing quality content.
Cool.
Nothing for you?
No, we went over it. We share the same goals.
Oh, fucking at 4 a.m. Got it. All right.
Why'd you have to say it that way?
All right. This is the last question from Amanda and from the folks who send us questions in general. It says, just for funsies, what's each of your favorite holiday movie and Disney character?
Favorite holiday movie? Nightmare Before Christmas.
I was going to say, there's no way it's not the Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas. So good. All the songs are so good. Disney character. Sorry, none of the characters from Nightmare Before Christmas. I recently had an interview, and my answer to that question was the cast of the 101 Dalmatians, because growing up I didn't have dogs. And I want a dog so bad. And my sister and I probably watched that VHS way too many fucking times. And I mean VHS. You gotta rewind that shit when you're finished. You know what I mean? And we watched that movie so many times. The opening animations for it with the polka dots, like the dog spots that pop up. It's so cute. That movie's so stinking cute. And Cruella de Vil is one of the best songs in the Disney movie verse. I love how that song is sung in that movie.
Right on.
And I don't know, my side My side piece is probably Eeyore. I came home.
Side piece is Eeyore. That's a weird way to put that.
And well, I finished my interview and I told Adam what my answer was. He's like, "Why didn't you say Eeyore?"
I thought Eeyore was her favorite.
And I'm like, "Well, you can't tell someone in an interview you like Eeyore because he's depressed just like you." It's like
trying to keep things posy during that interview.
He's just like, he's this emo, adorable character that I just love so much. You know, I freaking love Eeyore. And I think he's absolutely adorable. And I just want to give him a hug. You know, he deserves all the hugs.
Aw.
Yeah.
All right, for me, favorite holiday movie. I have a lot, so I'm going to whittle it down to 3. Let's say it's a 3-way tie.
It says favorite holiday movie.
Anyways, so Die Hard, Christmas movie.
Oh,
Don't
okay.
ever tell me it's not. I don't care what Bruce Willis said.
We watch it every year.
Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
It's not Christmas until Hans Gruber falls off a Nakatomi Tower. Second is The Ref. It's another Christmas movie. It is an amazing Dennis Leary movie.
Never seen it.
If you've never seen it, go and watch it. It is essentially
I've known
about...
you for 10 years. I've still never seen it.
We've watched it like 5 times together. You just
what?
never pay any attention
Which
to
one
it.
is it?
It's the one, and I was just about to describe the plot, where a cat burglar gets caught in a like really rich upscale neighborhood, and he has to join in a family's dinner and pretend he's like the marriage counselor for this couple, which is played by Kevin Spacey. And I can't remember the actress's name, who are endlessly at each other's throats while also dealing with the fact that someone is like holding a gun to their head, and is like trying to hide the fact that he is a cat burglar while like house to house searches are going on. But their marriage is literally falling apart on screen. And the irony of the movie is that it opens with them at their marriage counselor, and he's basically just letting them say whatever they want and then asking the other one, like, how does that make you feel? And so all they do is argue in it.
The most annoying questions.
And so he eventually, when they like raise their voices, he like rings the bell and tells them to be quiet, and they tell him like "fuck you" in unison. That's how the movie starts. And what they needed was someone to be there to tell them, "You're right, you're wrong. Like, he's right on this. You're a terrible person." And then when they go to their next issue, because this guy just wants to escape and he doesn't give a shit, but even at the threat of gunpoint, they won't stop arguing with each other. He becomes essentially a referee, which is what they actually needed. And like their drama spills over and it crescendos. And it's a really great character study if you ever want to learn how to write dialogue between two characters coming from completely different vantage points. And like the climax of the movie is an argument. And I love it when conversation is the like crescendo of a movie, because it's like, I don't need an action set piece. I want to see characters that are realized yelling at each other in a way that makes me feel something. And the person essentially throughout the movie that you think is just kind of a douche or a bad person reveals like he's been forced into that role because someone had to fucking do it. And it's just like when you watch that movie, you're like, damn, like it makes you think about every relationship you have with someone that's confrontational. And I love The Ref. I think it's an amazing movie.
Welcome to the movie podcast.
It's so good. And third, it's gotta be in there. It's always going to be in my top. My favorite holiday movie for number 3 in the 3-way tie, Independence Day, that celebrates Independence Day. It's a holiday movie. It doesn't say Christmas movie.
That's dumb.
It's literally called Independence Day.
Shut
and
up.
the battle for the planet happens on the 4th of fucking July.
Fucking God. That is the stupidest shit. That is the dumbest answer I've ever fucking heard.
You are fucking stupid and I hate you.
I'm sorry, but like, if somebody
says holiday.
You, no.
4th of July is a holiday.
When someone asks you what your favorite holiday movie is, they mean winter holiday.
No, they don't. It doesn't say winter holiday. It just says favorite holiday movie. You've been brainwashed by Hallmark because every one of their stupid holiday movies is a Christmas movie.
I can't believe you started with Christmas.
You started with Halloween.
No. It's the Nightmare Before Christmas.
When does it start at Disney when they're going to change the Haunted Mansion?
Halloween.
That's fucking right.
Because fuck you. It doesn't. Has Christmas in the title, bitch.
Holiday movie is what it was stated, so I went with that. Sorry, that was really long-winded for my favorite holiday movie.
Disney character, go.
Aladdin.
Oh, because he's brown.
I know a lot of people like don't understand what it means because you never had to worry about it, but when you hear the phrase representation matters, that's what Aladdin is for me. Aladdin was like the first brown character as a kid that I saw depicted that was a main character.
What about Mowgli?
I never watched Jungle Book.
What?
Yeah, so like watching Aladdin for me was very special. And on top of that, like being a kid that's not fucking rich growing up, you know? that's growing up of modest means, and you're watching this movie about like a diamond in a rough, and the whole point of that movie is like, you don't have to be rich to be valuable, is very important. And I was like, this movie means so much to me. So Aladdin by far is my favorite Disney character.
You certainly weren't when I met you.
What?
Rich.
No shit. Still not. So I'm still a diamond in the rough. Hopefully getting less rough.
Okay, so let's move on to your question for me.
So I want to go last, actually. So we're going to do one question for the other person to wrap up this episode, since it's already running pretty long. And I know Garrett's already fallen asleep because he can't stand anything that's over 20 minutes.
So now that you have an award-winning Twats to Twats, Wheel-Time podcast.
Award-winning?
I'm just hoping. I'm just hoping you get awards. How do you feel about Scarish, like, in comparison? And are you going to change, your focus? Like, you're going to focus more on Twats than you're going to focus on...
Well, the beauty of Twats is that it's an 8-episode season. So instead of it being Scarish, where I'm doing 104 episodes a week, Twats is 8 episodes of React, probably a preview episode to start the season, and a summary episode to end the season, then any other bonus we might want to do, which it's already in the can. The first things that we record are our bonus Twats episodes for the off season. It's not as much of a time commitment, and it's sort of easier content. I don't have to do research. I just got to watch the episode, and then if I love something, write it down. If I hated something, write it down, and then just talk about it. That's it. So it's a lot easier.
Are you still rereading the books?
Yeah, I'm on book 4. When they said they said the first season was an amalgamation of books 1, 2, and 3, which has been kind of a huge fucking lie.
What is it?
It's mainly just 1, with some of the prequel book.
There's
New
a prequel
Spring
book?
included. I've never read it. Someone called me out because I was talking shit about a character that I thought was made up. They're like, actually, it's from New Spring. I was like, fuck me. But yeah, it's a lot easier for me. Garrett does all the producing. He does all the audio engineering. Garrett handles all the editing.
That's pretty freaking hard for him because he has to edit.
That's his job. He's
a bunch of podcasts
editor, and like he does so much work on Hello from the Magic Tavern and various other projects. And for him, I think it's just like it's a passion project, and it's his first podcast that he's like a voice on, and he's pretty much the host.
I am a big fan of Who's Hot on Twat, and how do you feel about having a podcast where it's like there's a whole segment you don't even have to do anything about? You're just like, all right, cool.
It's a lot easier, and I do feel guilty sometimes because it's like I record, I render my audio, I upload it, and I'm just like, I'll wait for you to be done with that. TikTok, Garrett. Let's get that taken care of. So I try and write thoughtful. I have a segment. I don't have Who's Hot on Twat. That's Faye's segment where she talks about like who's the MVP and also MVS. No, MSP, most sexy person. Most valuable person and most sexy person, which are usually the same person, the same episode. And then mine is WTF Rafe. Rafe Judkins is the showrunner. So I take something that I thought was either done well, where I will compliment him, or something that I thought was like really poorly done. I will try and pinpoint very articulately why I thought it was done poorly.
I have a teddy bear named Rafe.
Cool.
Yeah. It's one of my faves.
Where'd you get it?
Oh, my grandpa gave it to me. I named it Rafe.
Why'd you name it Rafe?
From Pearl Harbor. It's one of the main characters.
I've also never seen Pearl Harbor.
Shut up.
I heard it was
historically inaccurate.
Sure, it was a steaming pile of shit on screen. Also, that could be a holiday movie. Pearl Harbor Day is a holiday. So, which is, by the way, on the day this releases, I'm pretty sure December 7th is Pearl Harbor Day. God damn, this has gone really long. So that was your question for me.
Yeah, it's a good question.
So my question for you is, it was like multiple questions or whatever. My question for you is, what is one question that you wish someone would ask you? Like going into an episode like this, knowing everyone's going to ask you questions, what's something that you were either hoping to talk about?
Are you okay?
Or you expected to be asked? Really?
No. That's a really depressing question, though. No one ever asked me that.
Today's a pretty goddamn good
today's
day
a good
for
day.
You, so.
But no, I don't know. I mean, everyone always asks me lots and lots of questions, and I answer to the best of my ability. Even in interviews, I answer way more than I should. I just maybe I talk too much.
Here's a good one then.
Okay.
We get a lot of people that reach out to us wanting to start a podcast. What is one piece of advice you wish someone had given you?
Find someone to edit your shit for you.
She's not fucking around, man.
Yeah. No. I don't know.
Let me refine it further
Okay.
then, and then this will be my last version of your question. As a creative person, as an artist, someone who's always making stuff, you're always drawing, you're always creating new products and stuff like that. What is one thing you wish someone would have told you when you started out?
Don't do it. No, JK, LOL. No, it's a very expensive venture. You have to invest so much of your time and so much of your own money that you will start off in debt. You don't start off by making money. If you think it's a miracle, like, it's not. Like, when you first make your first item, you can't assume it's going to sell. You can't be upset at yourself if you have one or two things and no one wants to buy it, because it just doesn't magically happen. It takes a lot of time. And when I first started off, my first anime convention I ever did, that I did with the girls, I didn't sell anything. I sold maybe one thing, you know? So it's just, you gotta not give up maybe, because it's hard. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of grinding. It's a lot of money to invest. And it's a lot of time, and you can't, like, you gotta save up. Straight up. You need to save up money before you start. Because you will start in debt. I'm not joking. Like,
asking for like supplies for birthdays or holidays.
That helps so much.
What do you want for your birthday? Buy me yarn. You know?
Like, my mom saw when I started doing like decadent stuff. My mom saw how much I was doing all this craft stuff. And one day, her and Liz came home from the store, and my mom bought me like a craft bin to put all my stuff in, like a bunch of like an area to work on, like a little area mat type thing to work on. And like for Christmas, when people ask you what you want, be like, button maker, $150. You know, it's a good Christmas gift. But yeah, I mean, get help where you can, because it is expensive. And like pins, the first time I ever ordered pins, it was like over $300, and I still have a couple of those pins left. I was gonna say a lot, but I don't have a lot left. I have a couple left, and I bought those like 2 years ago. So it's something that you have to understand. Like, you're not going to make money miraculously back after creating something. So it takes time, takes a lot of grinding. Here's this has been Robin's art corner, art motivation / non-motivation corner.
So if there's a way I could answer that question too, like something I wish as a person who's creative, and I don't, it's kind of funny because I say I don't write a lot. I write a script a week. You know, I basically write a book report a week. So I do write a lot. And that was my major in college, is creative writing. One thing that was very hard for me to deal with was unconstructive criticism. Constructive criticism is very easy to deal with. You're almost appreciative of it. You might be afraid of it at first.
You need but even when someone's giving you constructive criticism, you can't be the person who's like,
don't shut down.
Yes.
Don't become defensive.
Oh, it's so ugly. Fine. I hate it. I'm never going to do anything again.
Or don't be the person that's like, you're wrong. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yes.
Like, learn to understand what constructive and unconstructive criticism is, or deconstructive
my
criticism.
biggest pet peeve is when someone asks you for your opinion and you give your opinion and then they say your opinion is wrong.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, then why did you ask me? There's no point in you asking me if you think my opinion is wrong.
If you are trying to do anything creative, podcast, art, writing, filmmaking,
or life decisions,
anything, there's two things I want you to know. These are the two most important things I wish someone would have told me. One is that one of the most important things you could ever do is figure out whose opinions not to listen to. Some people exist in your life to tear you down.
Yep.
And they just want to say something mean or nasty. And no one's going to be shocked to hear this. They're most likely close friends or close family who are jealous of success or threatened by the fact that you're even trying.
Yep.
And that leads directly to my second piece of advice. Failure is the best fucking thing that can happen to you. Failure in so many ways is better than success, because failure shows you how not to do something. And sometimes you can succeed, but not to the degree that you were hoping, and then you're not sure what you should do differently. When you fail, you're like, I'm not going to do it that way anymore. I'm going to do it this way. And the fear of failure is so much more palpable than the sting of failure. Sometimes when you fail, you're like, fuck it, I'm done with it. And you realize that, you wasted your time and you're going to move on to something else. And that's driving you in a different direction. Or you're like, I'm going to do it again and I'm going to do it better. And that drives you in a different direction. And sometimes success will make you feel complacent. And people are so afraid to fail, they don't try so often. And failure is so not a bad thing. It really isn't.
Who's that?
And people will treat you like shit because they were afraid to fail and they didn't try. And when they see you trying, it bothers them because of a choice they made. And when you recognize that, it does not matter if they're successful or they're unsuccessful, they're your friend, they're your family. If you recognize this person does not have my best interest at heart when they are giving me their opinion or their feedback, in one ear, out the other, thank you. It's like, if you're going out of your way to ask someone, hey, what's your opinion on this? It's because you value it,
Yeah.
If you're going out of your way to ask someone, what's your opinion on this, to tell them your opinion doesn't matter, then you shouldn't have asked them in the first place.
Right.
So that's that's the two things that I can tell you is like, figure out whose feedback is dog shit and don't listen to it. And don't be afraid of failure. Failure is wonderful.
Well, there is also that one guy, Charlie, who wrote It's Sunny in Philadelphia. That's what it's called,
it's
right?
Always Sunny.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I've never seen it. But he gave a really good speech at a college graduation where he told them how he failed 1,000,001 times trying to get this show picked up. And it took so many, I want to say declines. What is it? Rejections.
Yeah.
It took so many rejections and then just one. It took one person to say, okay, we'll give you a shot.
Sometimes you have something. And no matter how many people tell you like, nah, it's not good, you fucking know.
And now it's an award-winning television show.
It is. It's still going.
What?
It is still on the air. And here's another thing he said in the same speech. He said that he grew up being told, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Do what you love. And he said, I do what I love. And there are days where I'm exhausted. And there are days where I'm not happy. And it's almost, he doesn't say it this way, but he's basically trying to tell you that doing what you love, following your dream.
It's not always easy.
It's the hardest work you'll ever do.
Yeah.
And he says, you should be told, do what makes you great. Because that's different. Because doing what makes you great is hard fucking work.
Yep.
And I think that's really important because I think a lot of people think like, do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And you start doing what you love, you're like, this is fucking hard.
Yeah.
Why is this so hard? And it's because it's supposed to be.
For me, going to all those anime conventions, all of us are so exhausted at the end of the weekend. We're so tired. And then the girls have to get up and wake up first thing Monday morning, go to work. And it's just, it's real hard work.
Let me give you an example of what this show can be like for us. So it doesn't have to be this way. We have
we exhaust ourselves?
We have other options, but realistically, this is what happens. If we have a convention over the weekend, we go to the convention, we try and come home Monday. If I can swing it with my job and Robin can swing it with her job, so we don't have to travel tired. I don't like driving tired, and it's a 4-hour drive. We'll come home Monday. We'll work if we can. If we have the time, we'll work. Then we'll get home. We might have a little bit of time to rest. Then we immediately go into researching our topics. Once we're done researching our topics, we record. By that time, it's typically between 2 and 4 a.m. At that point, I edit the episode. Robin goes to the bedroom and tries to stay awake long enough to be there and be conscious. When I get to the bedroom, I edit. I post it. If it's early, I schedule it for release. I release it early for the patrons. If it's not early, I release it for the patrons maybe a minute early. And then everyone else gets it right after that. I go and I lay down. Robin will typically have to get up sometime between 9 and 10, depending on which Tuesday.
If I have class or whatever.
Yeah, depending on which Tuesday it is, I either have to get up at 7:30 or 9. So in some cases, I'll go to bed 5:30 and 6, take about a 90-minute nap. Sometimes maybe 2 or 3 hours if I'm lucky. Get up and have a full day of work. And then Tuesday around 5.
Take a nap.
5 to 5:30, I'll take a nap, and then I'll wake back up and think like, all right, well, I'm not going to go to bed too early because I want to do something. And that's a microcosm of just the topic episodes. And we do a lot more, and that is a really good example of, we love this show. We love doing it. I never want a Tuesday to go by where there's not an episode of Scarish for someone. We've been doing this for 4 years, but that is the reality of being consistent and getting us on time for release. And it's not easy. And if you told someone like, this is what I do, they'd be like, how much do you make? And if you told them how much you make, they'd be like, you're fucking nuts. Like, why would you do that? It's like, because I love doing it. We love doing it. It's incredibly hard work.
It is incredibly hard work. And I hope you guys appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy this 4-year anniversary episode. We had a lot of questions. We answered a lot of questions.
We talked a bunch of shit.
We hope you guys have learned a little bit more about us, a little bit more about what makes us tick. We hope you guys learned a little bit of something today, and got motivated maybe to do something that you guys love, even if it tires you out and it's a lot of hard work. Hopefully you guys are inspired to go out and do it. Hopefully you guys stick out with us for another 4 years. I don't know. Hopefully we'll see. We're really thankful for all the spooky friends, for all the spooky fam. We love you guys. And, yeah, Adam, do you want to sign us out this episode? Let's do the, if you want to donate to us, you guys can go to patreon.com/Scaryish podcast. Those are monthly donations. Tiers start at $1. If you're not into the monthly type of donation thing, you can also go to coffee, ko-fi.com/Scaryish podcast. And those are one-time donations. Adam, why don't you tell us where they can send stories and stuff?
If you guys want to reach out to us, there's multiple ways you can do it. You can email storytime@scarish.com or go to our website, scarish.com. Click on contact us, fill out that form. It comes directly to us. Send us in your supernatural, true crime. Supernatural is a word I already said. Spiritual, coincidental, sometimes extraterrestrial stories. We would love to hear them. It's different, but that's okay. And also, if you want to hit us up on our social medias, Facebook is facebook.com/Scarish podcast. Twitter is @Scarish pod. Instagram is @Scarish podcast. We would absolutely love to hear from you. We do have pasta time episodes where we read short fictional horror stories off the internet. So if you have a short fictional horror story that you would like to send us, we would like to read it on the show. So go ahead and email pastatime@scarish.com because we would love to hear from you there, or hit us up on any of the aforementioned social medias, but let us know it's a creepy pasta. That way we don't confuse it with a story time. So,
yep. And yeah, Adam, why don't you sign us out?
Cool. That's everything we have for this.
Use your sultry voice.
4th year anniversary.
Are you going to eat everyone?
Anyways, you said sultry.
Okay.
It's as sultry as I got. Now it's starting to get into something else. It's getting a little bit more gruff. I'm too old for this shit. All right. Anyways, enough of this episode. That's everything we have for episode 208, 4-year anniversary. So keep on creeping on, and we will talk to you guys later.